All right, so we are looking at lesson 9-1, area of rectangles and squares. And so today's learning intention is I will learn how to find area and perimeter and side lengths for rectangles and squares. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a minute and get that down. All right, so the area of a parallelogram is going to be base times height. And the other thing you need to know when finding this is the height must be, this is perpendicular to the base. The height must be perpendicular to the base. So let's go ahead and look at a parallelogram. We have one here. What it means by the height must be perpendicular. So here is the height. You will know where the base is based on where the height is. Remember, perpendicular creates a 90-degree angle. Therefore, you know that this could be a base or this could be a base because it's where it creates that 90-degree angle. You can see that over here would not be a base because the height is not perpendicular to it. Okay? All right, so this is a parallelogram. Okay? The area is base times height, that we just talked about. Okay, B is a type of parallelogram, but this is a rectangle. Okay, and the area is also base times height, but we may have heard of this in the past as length times width, and that's fine. And sometimes finding the sides of a rectangle, it's easier to go by length times width. Okay, and then the next one is we have a square. Okay, and the area of a square is if you know one side, you can just square it, or take that side times itself, which is technically also length times width, or base times height. It's just if you know one side, they're all congruent, so you can just square it. Okay, and on a side note right here, perimeter, we will be talking about perimeter today. And perimeter is the distance around the figure. The distance or length around the figure. So if you were to walk around the outside of this school building, you would be walking around the perimeter of the building. Okay? All right, now we're going to be finding the area and perimeter of the following figures. Okay, so the first one, we do have a rectangle set here, and we talked about area. You can either call it base times height, or you can call it length times width, whichever one you like. And so this is just going to be 10 times 5. Okay, so this would be the same as 10 times 5, which is 50. We do need to label that 50 feet, and that's squared. Whenever we have 2 dimensions, we have a dimension here and a dimension here, that's squared. Okay? The perimeter is around it, so it's this side plus this side plus this side plus this side, all the sides. So if we know if this is 10 feet, we know that it is congruent with this up here, and this is also 10 feet. And we know that this side is congruent with this side, and we know this is 5 feet. So if we were to add all of these up, we would have 10 plus 5 plus 10 plus 5. Or you can put them however you want, 10 plus 10. And we should have 20, 30, and this is just feet. Not feet squared, just feet. So it's the distance on the outside. Okay? Area would be, if I were to fill it in, it's how much is covering, okay? And perimeter is around it. So number 2, once again, I have base times height, so my area is 8 times 7, which is 56 feet squared. And my perimeter is adding up all the sides. So once again, if this is 8 feet, we know this is 8 feet, and this is 7. So this is 8 plus 8 plus 7 plus 7. And those come to 30 feet. Okay, any questions so far? All right. All right, number 3, we now have a square. And we know this because we have congruent sides all the way around. Okay, so if this is 10 centimeters, what is this right here? 10. Very good. They are all 10 all the way around. And we just talked about a little bit ago that the area of a square is S squared. So it's one side squared. So this would be 10 squared, which equals what? 100. And this is centimeters squared. So the perimeter is all the sides added together. So this would simply be 10 plus 10 plus 10 plus 10, and we would get 40. 40 centimeters. Okay, any questions on that? Okay, now on number 4, finding the area here. We learned that area is the base times height, or length times width. But we have one side, we do not have another side. Okay? But what we do have is we have this diagonal in here. Okay? And if I were to outline that diagonal and this, what did I just highlight? What is that? What shape did I just highlight? A triangle. Okay? In last chapter we learned that if we have a right triangle and we have 2 sides, we can find another one. And we did that by using a squared plus b squared equals c squared. We used the Pythagorean theorem last time. Okay, so our hypotenuse is this guy right here, so that's going to be our c, right? Okay, so the missing side is this. I'm going to call him x. So I would have x squared plus 5 squared equals 13 squared. And that's going to help me find that side. So I have x squared plus 25 equals, and do we remember what 13 squared was? Very good. And solving for x, I need to take 25 from both sides. That leaves me with x squared equals, I think this comes out to 144. And to get rid of the square, we do what? Square root it. Very good. And if I do it to that side, I got to do it to this side. So x equals the square root of 144 is 12. Okay. So I don't know area and perimeter yet, but what I know is x. I know that x is 12 right here. Now I have 2 sides. Now I can take my base times my height. So this would be 5 times 12. And what is 5 times 12? I didn't bring a calculator. Okay, 60. And this is meters this time. And meters what? Squared. Okay? Now can I find my perimeter? So to find my perimeter, I have 5 and 12, and I know that this side is 12, and I know that this side is 5. And we're just adding those sides together. So my perimeter is 12 plus 12 plus 5 plus 5. I think it comes to 34 meters. Okay? So any questions on that? We're going to do number 5 the same way. Number 5 also gives us one side. It gives us our base. It does not give us a height, but it gives us the diagonal once again. Okay? So using the Pythagorean theorem, we can come up with this side over here. Okay? And I'm going to call him x. So I'm going to have x squared plus 8 squared equals 13.6 squared. And leaves me with x squared plus 64 equals 13.6 squared is 120.96. Is that what? Anybody get 13.6 squared? Is it 120.96? 13.6 squared? 184.96. Okay. I know. Now take the 64 away from it, and I think you get the 120. Right? Yeah. Okay. Okay, so now you need to square root that 120.96. And I think you get something, I think you can round it up to 88. You get something like 87.9 or something. Okay, so I'm going to round that up to 88 feet squared. All right, so now my x equals, what was x? The square root of 120.96? That's if you took the 8 times 11, right? Okay, so x should equal 11. Are we on the same page right now, everybody? I think I jumped a step. I'm backing up. I figured it was x before I put it down. Okay, so now I have 8 and 11, so I also know my other sides. I have 11 and 8, so I would add 11 plus 11 plus 8 plus 8, and you should come up with 38 feet. Okay, so let's look at number 6. Same thing. It doesn't give us a base or a height this time. So we do have this diagonal, though. We know we have a right triangle. Okay. So I know I have a side here, and I have a side here, and I know they're the same because it's a square. Okay? And I also know the formula for area is S squared. Okay? So I know that this squared plus this squared, so if I have x squared plus x squared equals are we on the same page with that? A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, so I can combine my x squared, and this is actually 2x squared, because there's 2 of them, right? 1, 2. So 2x squared equals the square root of 50 squared. Okay? So I'm solving for my x squared. So how can I start to slowly get x by himself? Yes, divide by 2. If I do it to this side, I got to do it to this side. And I do that because that's what gets those to cancel. Okay? And then also, what do I know about this square root and this square here? Okay. I'm going to end up with x squared equals, and if I take this and divide it by 2, it's like the square root of 25. And I'm going to end up with x equals 5. Ooh-wee, that was a long way, wasn't it? Okay, but now what I know is I know that x equals 5, and I know that this x equals 5, and a is 5 squared. So my area is 5 squared, which is 25 inches squared. And if I were to add up all these sides, 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, it is 20 inches. Okay. Are we good so far? All right, sweet. Okay, number 7. So if 2 shapes have the same perimeter, then they have the same area, true or false. So if you have 2 shapes and they both have the same perimeter, do they automatically have the same area? No, not necessarily. That is not always the case, so that's a big fat no. Okay, not necessarily. Okay, moving on. Okay, once again, we're solving for area and perimeter. So now I have 2 shapes, but all it is for area, I can find the area of this one and the area of this one and add them together to find the total area. Okay, so this one, base times height, what's the area of this one right here? 5 times 8. 40. Okay, and then this one is a square, so this would be like 6 squared, or 6 times 6, which is 36. So what I'm saying is I have the area of this one and the area of this one. So the whole area, it'd be 40 plus 36, which is 76 meters squared. Okay? Now the perimeter is what is all the way around it. The whole all those outside edges added together. So let's see what I have. I have a side, I have this side. What is this side over here? 5's good. What is this side down here? Yeah. So what is this side here? 6. I'm missing one little chunk. What chunk is that? Right here where the question mark is? This piece here. How would I find it? Well, I know what this is. Yep. Yes. Yes. Because I know what this is and I know what this is. So 8 minus 6 would give me this. And so this little question mark is 2. Okay? So now I just add up all my sides. That's all we're doing. So I would have 5 plus 8 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 2. And I think that's all my sides. And I get 38 meters. Would you guys like to do number 9 on your own? We'll try number 9, okay? And we'll come back. Okay, so looking back, I'm guessing everybody did really good on the area. This is just the area of this and the area of this. What did we get for the question mark right here? What did we get for this? 3, okay? And you should have got that because you can figure this minus this little part, so it would be 7 minus 4, right? So yeah, you should have got 3. So what did we get for the perimeter? Good. And that's just meters. Okay, very good. Okay, so let's look at number 10. The area of a rectangle is 63 inches squared, and the length is 9 inches. What is the width? So I'm just going to make myself a little rectangle. Okay, it's telling me the area, so the area of this whole thing is 63. The length is 9 inches. It wants to know what this is over here. Okay, are we on the same page with that? And we know that the area, the formula, we can use base times height, or we can use length times width. Because it's asking for length, I'm going to use length times width. And the area, the number it's giving me is 63. The A is my 63. The length, the L, is 9. And it wants to know what the W is. So we're going to solve for W. And how would we solve for W in this case? How do I get W by himself? Divide it. Very good. We divide by W. That's what gets these to cancel. Okay. But if I do it over here, I got to do it over here. And so W equals 63 divided by 9, which is 7. So this is 7 inches. My width is 7 inches. Okay, number 11. So now the area of a rectangle is 99 inches squared, and the width is 3 inches. What is the length? So once again, I'm going to use area equals length times width because it's asking for the length. My A is 99. Now it's telling me the W. It's telling me the width is 3 inches and what is the length. So I don't know my L, but I do know my W is 3. So now how do I solve for L? Same way, right? Yeah. So my L is 99 divided by 3 should be 33 inches. Okay? All right, so number 12 says we have a square. Okay? And remember, a square has all four congruent sides. And the area of a square is A equals S squared. And the area, so my A is 64. What is the length of each side? Well, we don't know what S is. So now we need to solve for S. How do I solve? Yes. You got it. Square root that, and you got to do it to both sides. So S equals 8. So each side is 8 inches. Very good. Okay, number 13. Now I have a square again. It tells me the area is 121. What is the length of each side? So once again, and I think it's like, yep, what Kenzie said. Yep. So S equals 11 what? Feet? Okay. Okay, so let's look at number 14. It said if Brady wants to replace his backyard with a large garden, where the length being 5 units longer than the width, and the perimeter of the backyard is 72 feet. How many square feet would Brady need to cover if he did the entire backyard? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a backyard. It's going to be the prettiest backyard you ever saw. Okay? All right. He wants to take this whole backyard and replace it with a garden. The length is going to be 5 units longer than the width. The perimeter, meaning all the way around it, is 72 feet. So I know this plus this plus this plus this is going to be 72. How many square feet? And square feet is the area. Whenever you see this square feet, that means the area. How many square feet would Brady need to cover if he did the entire backyard? Okay? So we know that the length is 5 inches longer than the width. So here's our width, and I'm going to call these X. And I know that this side is going to be the same as this side, so I can make them both X. And my length is 5 units longer than the width. So what would my length be if it's 5 units longer than my width? Would it make sense to call it X plus 5? Because it's 5 units longer than my width? So if it's X plus 5 down here, it's going to be X plus 5 up here. Now, knowing what the perimeter is, I can solve for X, and I can find a side. I can find my sides, because I know my perimeter. So if I take all these and add them together, which would be X plus 5 plus X plus X plus 5 plus X, and if I equal all of these to 72, I should be able to solve for X. So by combining like terms, how many X's do I have? 2, 3, 4. I do. I have 4 X's plus, and then what? 5 and 5 is 10. Okay. So subtract 10 to both sides. 4X equals 72 minus 10 is what? 62? Yeah. One more step to find X, and it is, divide by 4. So X equals 62 divided by 4 is 15 and a half, right? Yeah. 15.5. So X is 15.5. So this side is 15.5. What's this side down here then? Yes, good. 15.5 plus 5. So this is going to be 20.5. So now can I find my area? Because area is length times width, or base times height. And so this would be 20.5 times 15.5. Okay, let's go ahead and put it in our calculators and see what we get. Okay, good. 317.75. And what's my units? Did it give me a unit? It actually just said units, didn't it? Units what? Squared. Very good. That is my answer. This is how much he will need to replace the whole backyard.